My name is Mike Partee, and welcome to the show. The show is about success, money, faith, and business for all the young bucks out there. I won't sell you anything, and I'm no 20-something-year-old success guru with pictures of Lamborghinis on Instagram. I'm simply your friend. Just like any other friend in real life, I'm here to sit down to chat, and hopefully together, we'll both gain some insight and encouragement on our path forward. So why get started in business? This topic came up the other day when I was invited for my first radio show. Being admittedly very rough on the mic, I wasn't able to convey the path that I was on to get to where the business is right now. To give you a little bit of a background, I run a small but growing podcast editing business. It's a service business, including myself and a few other subcontractors that help me out. I wanted to create this episode just to give some more people some insight into why I decided to go into business, but also so that they could decide for themselves whether they want to go into business as well. So the question is, really, why do people decide to go into business? If you were to understand that, I'd have to take you back to 11-year-old Mike. You see, when I was 11 years old, I was a massive nerd, and I would become obsessed with certain things that nobody else seemed to care about. One of them just happened to be electronic music production. Back then, we still called it techno, before EDM got really big. And then I suddenly became popular in high school, which is really strange. But I became obsessed with this topic, and soon enough I ended up becoming very good at it and attracted the attention of some locals. It just so happened that there was only one other gentleman in town that ended up doing the same thing that I was doing. And through a mutual connection, we ended up meeting. This gentleman was a musician 5 times my age at that time, probably in his mid-50s. But meeting this gentleman changed the direction of my life forever. I forget the exact details of the day, but it was strange to me to be able to see somebody have the freedom to take some time out of the day to come see me, some random kid. So as we're sitting here, yes, we do talk about production, but I asked him, I say, "What do you do? What's your job?" And what I got back as a response was something that I didn't understand at the time, but would change the direction of my life forever. That was, "I don't know. I have a web design business and I own 12 properties out on the beach and I rent them out." Before meeting this gentleman, this was completely unheard of. And at that point, I decided that whatever he had, I wanted, and I was going to go get after it. This created a chain reaction of obsession about business and figuring out how to become free. Not just to be free financially, but to be the author of my own life. After reading all kinds of material about success, I questioned everything about the status quo, whether I should go to college, get a job, do this, this, and this, and by the end of it, settle for comfortable mediocrity. It seemed that through reading all these books and this observation from this gentleman, that the only thing I really had to do was to get good at something, good enough to get paid for it, and then eventually just add more people to the process. And so that brings us to our next point. Under what circumstances should somebody start a business? Well, I knew from a purely mathematical standpoint that a business is the only thing that I could create, where I could control my own time and control my own pay. After all, when you're working for somebody else, you are always going to be making money for your boss. You will always be paid less than what you're actually worth. After all, this is how businesses create profit. To break this down further, all businesses, especially in services like mine, are very simple. They're all basically time brokers. Every business that you've walked into and every job that you've had, what they're really doing is that they're buying time from somebody and selling it for more. I'll give you an example. Say you walk into a web development agency and sitting in the desks are web designers or graphic designers. Well, if you're a client for this agency, you may be billed $100 an hour, but the people sitting in the desks doing the work will only be making $20 an hour. The same thing exists for my own business. It's not immoral. It's not unethical. It's simply buying time from somebody who's willing to sell it, say an employee or a freelancer, packaging it, and reselling it for more. This is the exact same model that you see in the web design business, where you buy time for $20 from a web designer and resell it for $100 to a client. So when I give somebody a job, what I'm really providing them is consistent work. And in exchange, the employee is leaving 80% of the money that they could be making on the table. So anybody considering business really has two options. Option A, you could keep a job and leave 80% of the money on the table. Option B, you create a new business and keep 100% of the money. Each of these have their own trade-offs. Of course, with a job, you'll be able to get consistency, consistent work. You'll be protected from legal problems. You won't have to sell. But is 80% worth it? And is somebody controlling your own time and your own hourly rate worth keeping the job? Hey, this is Mike again, and I really appreciate you listening to this very first episode. This topic has been on my mind for a while, and it's something that I've discussed with people in person when asked about business. There's no name for this podcast, but if you have any ideas, make sure you leave a comment and tell me what you think the name should be. Also, if you have any questions or you want something for me to cover, just drop a comment and I'll read it, and we'll see where we go from there. Once again, this is Mike Partee, signing off, and have a blessed night.